Well, they've definitely made some changes to the software and it's buggy. Anyway, I'm here. Good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. How are you? Great to see you today. It's Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. Like I said, I am Hammer, the founder of Hammer Solutions, home of great products such as Originator Success, which I'm rocking my gear today, Grab and Go Social, and Rate Sensei. Three separate, distinct, unique products to help originators get more business in 2026. Be sure to check those out. Remember, you can join me live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern on Facebook and YouTube, talking about what's going on in the markets. We'll take a look today and see which way are rates going, and are we going to be excited about it? So make sure you stick around. I'll be going over that whole thing. If you would like a reminder that I'm going live, I do send out a text as I hit the button. So if you would like a reminder and a quick access to the links, you can go ahead and sign up for that at hmmr.io/reminder, or use this cool QR code over here and check that out as well. So anyway, I am curious. It's giving me two different versions now. It's giving me portrait and landscape. I'll have to find out a little bit more about this. I don't know if it's an automatic change or if it's just the way you see it. I'll have to see. So anyway, good morning, y'all. So great to have you here. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Don't forget to smash the like button, tag an hello friend, share this post in a group. Remember, your comments drive engagement, and I appreciate it. Your comments keep me going. So be sure to comment. Quick welcome to the live folks. Got a handful of you on this morning. Angela, Tim Klyla, Amy Blaser, and Zane. Great to have you all here. Vicky McSweeney, Deb Dickinson. Good to see you. I hope you all are having a good day. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and get to the good stuff, get to the good part, as they call it. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me pull up my screen. We'll start off here. We'll take a look at the technicals and see where we're at on everything this morning. Let me go ahead and pull up Presentify. Go ahead and take a look at a quick recap down here of what happened yesterday and where things are at. Let me zoom in on this so we can see it even clearer. Hold on a second. Let me refresh the page so that we can scroll it on over. All right. So taking a look this morning, you will see that mortgage-backed securities currently up about 9 basis points on the day, starting the day with some improvement. And 10-year treasury yield 4.28, which is better than where we were at yesterday. It closed at 4.30. So we've seen some improvement there. Quick recap from what happened yesterday. We started the day with some, just losses as bonds were kind of slipping. Most lenders come out with pricing right around 10 a.m. That's right about here. Kind of leveled off. Right after that, though, we did see bonds dip. It wasn't enough, even though it looks bad on the chart here. A lot of lenders were already pricing pretty conservatively because we were coming off of this downward spiral for mortgage-backed securities anyway. So we didn't really see any reprices up through here. Now, take a look right here. You'll see this big dip. So at 4 p.m. yesterday, right about here, at 4 p.m. yesterday, bonds really started to sell off, and they sold off really quick. At this point, we issued an alert that it was likely we were going to go ahead and see reprices worse. If you're not signed up for our text alerts, make sure you do sign up for those. Check them out, www.ratetextalerts.com, www.ratetextalerts.com. So we sent out an alert, trying to help get loans locked before we saw some reprices worse. Now you see, we saw a very, very quick drop. What caused that here was the headlines that neither side, Iran or the U.S., were going to be sending delegates to the talks that were supposed to be taking place in Pakistan today. And so J.D. Vance was not going, and the Iran representatives were not going, and markets, kind of sold off on that news because it's not very good, not very compromising. However, we got this really nice recovery not long after. And what helped there was the headlines that President Trump was announcing that the ceasefire would continue indefinitely, which that helped quite a bit. So we still ended up, as you can see here, we ended up, down on the day. So, in the red here, we were lower than when pricing came out. Pricing came out right about here. So we were down a little bit on the day. However, this morning, we have seen some nice improvement. And, that's going to help rate sheets a little bit today, at least maybe not take the same losses that we would have seen. So lenders came out with pricing yesterday right about here. And right now we're up a little bit. Like I said, we are currently, let me make this a hair smaller so it fits on the screen. All right. So we're currently up about 10 basis points on the morning. We did recover quite a bit. You see overnight trading right here. There was quite a bit of recovery, but this morning we did lose some ground in domestic markets as bonds were just kind of losing a little bit of steam. But we've seen a little bit of a recovery here, and that's where we stand. So reprice risk on the day is moderate. There is a very real possibility that we could see bonds lose these gains right here. So we'll be watching that. But taking a look at rate sheets, look at how stable things have been. We're looking at, 6.32, dropped a little bit better to 6.29, got a little worse, 6.30, back up to 6.33 today. We would be probably right back at that 6.32. We're seeing a lot of stability in rates, even though there's a lot of volatility in oil prices. Thankfully, we've seen that decoupling that I talked about before, where, we're not seeing the same behavior with bonds chasing what's going on directly with oil prices and things like that. So that's helped out quite a bit. As far as the rate outlook goes and locking, I would cautiously float for anything's closing the next 15 days. So here's the deal. The headlines are still currently focused on the Strait of Hormuz and what's going on there. We're still not seeing open commercial traffic. When we saw open commercial traffic, or the announcement for open commercial traffic, we saw that right here on this green candlestick last Friday. And we saw a lot of improvement. We improved about 25, 30 basis points on the day when we saw that traders were starting to trade the fact that the Strait of Hormuz was open. Over the weekend, it ended up, falling apart. The ceasefire is still in place, but the Strait of Hormuz closed. And right now, you got markets basically, I'll come back to that one. You got markets basically pricing in that it's currently deadlocked. So US and Iran deadlocked over the Strait of Hormuz after Trump extends the truce. President Donald Trump indefinitely extended a ceasefire. Again, that was yesterday afternoon. That already helped bonds improve a little bit on the day. The truce will stay in place until Iran submits a new proposal and discussions are concluded one way or the other. And there's still no sign the vital Hormuz waterway will be reopened to oil and liquefied natural gas shipments soon, with Iran keeping the strait closed. So the U.S. has a blockade. Supposedly a couple of Iranian ships have gotten through. Iran says that they don't want to negotiate if they're under threats and their ships are under threat. So we'll see where all this goes. When we do see this finally get lifted, don't be mistaken. It's not a resolution or anything to do with uranium or nuclear or anything like that that's going to make a difference in the markets, right? So that may make a difference in our lives, but it's not going to make a difference in the markets. Markets are pricing in oil and the effect that this is having on everything. Australia was talking about how they have like 30 days worth of gasoline for cars left. Again, the United States, we definitely are frustrated because gas prices have jumped significantly, right? $1.50 or so, at least in my neck of the woods. But we still have gas. There's other countries where they are going to have to start rationing or doing other things. So hopefully this all gets lifted, but this is has a global effect. We are a global economy. So all of this is what markets are currently looking at. We'll see another strong reaction, positive, where rates could improve if we see the Strait of Hormuz open. That's why I'm basically in a cautiously floating stance, because we haven't seen rate sheets take a beating. Even if they've lost a little bit of ground, it hasn't been anything crazy. So we want to kind of keep our options open with this stuff. The other thing to go over is when you listen to Kevin Warsh's, testimony to Congress. Remember, Kevin Warsh, it's April 21st, 22nd. Kevin Warsh is the it's Trump's nominee for the next Fed chair. However, it doesn't look like he's going to get through with Tom Tillis. Tom Tillis, I mean, it's not that Tom Tillis makes the decision, but they need the Republican votes. So in order to get him confirmed out of the Senate Banking Committee, so he can go in front of get voted on in front of the entire Senate to be confirmed, right? And the Senate Banking Committee, by the way, anybody watch any of that? I know it's not nice to say things, but I have to say, I really dislike Elizabeth Warren. There are politicians that I'm indifferent about. There's politicians that I do like, and there's politicians I really don't like. I do not like Elizabeth Warren. I won't stoop so low as to call her nasty names or say anything. I just don't like that woman. I don't like. I think she's a phony. I think she's a condescending individual. I think that she virtue signals. I question her motive on things. I don't like her. But she did have some good questions for Warsh. Warsh has said that he would be his own man, but what else can he say when he's in front of Congress, right? But none of this really affecting rates in the immediacy, but it will play as we get into the Fed meeting at the end of the month. Tom Tillis, the Republican, has said that he will not confirm and move along Kevin Warsh until Trump has resolved the witch hunt with the DOJ investigation into Powell and the building and everything else. Trump says he's not going to give in on that he's not going to end it. So, but he says one thing and does another all the time, such as he said it was unlikely he would extend the ceasefire yesterday. What else can you say? You're trying to get a deal done. So of course he's not going to be like, yeah, we'll just push it out. It's not a big deal. I get that. But then, he said one thing and then immediately extended it indefinitely. So, like I said, he's not worried about that. He's the one individual that never apologizes for changing his mind or changing his stance. So, but as far as all this goes, it just, I think what's going to happen is it's going to get stalemated. He's not going to move forward. And I think that Powell will continue to remain in the Fed chair role. I don't think it's a big deal right now, though, because when we look at expectations for Fed rate cuts, there's no expectation of a Fed rate cut anytime here in April. There's no expectation of a cut in June. There's basically no expectation of a cut in July. So we don't really see markets, I don't see markets reacting to this too much because we're already not expecting it until December. And it's very unlikely that Powell would still be there pro tempore in December. So keep that in mind as far as that goes. What are you doing? You are crawling all over. You are such a troublemaker. For those of you that can't see, Sophia here wants some attention. So she's crawling onto my lap and wants to be held. She's such a baby. You're such a baby. She's so funny. So, but that's why I have barn cats. Let's go ahead and answer your questions and where you're at on stuff. Let's see. So, Ron Siegel, Rand Paul had the best analysis. He said he has to go with a person's history. Per Senator Paul Warsh's history, statements of record should be what he is judged by, not one's personal beliefs looking forward. I liked his answers on some of the questions. He says that he's not promised Trump anything, but the pressure that he's going to be under, and his beliefs that he wants to cut rates anyway. She kind of witch hunted about different things and stuff. Again, for a woman that's been in Congress her whole life, well, she wasn't in Congress. She was been in politics her whole life. She is a Harvard professor, but they don't make much. And she's written a book or two, and she's worth about $10 million. That's not a bad gig. She's making $250,000 a year as a congressperson. She's worth about $10 million. I mean, she's better medical benefits than I have. I'll tell you that. Sean said Massachusetts has some great politicians. She's not one of them. Yeah, I'm not a fan of her. Trump needs to keep everyone guessing. Yep, that he certainly does, and he does that well. So, Derek, what do you think? Is it hard to negotiate with unstable, politically correct? We're giving them every chance possible. It's like someone in a fight calling uncle and keep fighting. Remember, they're not fighting. The whole thing is beyond. I don't know if it did anything, but you have to hope that it did. Diana agrees about Elizabeth. Yeah, thank you. Which side is more unstable? No, they're both unstable. I mean, but I get it. We'll see. We'll see where all that goes. So anyway, let me go ahead and pull up the other thing here, and we'll see what Ron had to say as well. Let me take that off. Pop this back to the chat. Ron said Powell could be removed in June if SCOTUS rules that agencies like the Fed are under executive oversight. I don't think SCOTUS would take him out. Again, that article that you referenced in the Wall Street Journal from Nikki T is a good article. I don't think that I don't think that they want to put themselves in that position. So, but we'll see, and hopefully it goes away, and Trump just lets it go. And even though he said in the interview yesterday, I think it was yesterday, about not letting it go, hopefully he lets it go anyway. Wouldn't be the first time. So, and they can move on, and we'll see what the new move is. I don't disagree with what you've said, Ron, before. Yeah. What do I have against Pocahontas? Exactly. Nothing manipulative about that one, right? So, but I do think that the Fed has become political. I agree with you on that one. I don't agree to the extent of what was done, but I do agree that there's some politics in it. So, but as far as mortgage rates and everything go, y'all, we are at a nice stable place. We're seeing some movement day to day in pricing, but not enough that we have to really worry. Today, we're off to a good start. Hopefully things will continue to go well. Reprice risk on the day is moderate. Make sure that you keep an eye on things in case they start to turn. If we see a sell-off, we'll see lenders reprice worse. But overall, rate sheets are pretty solid. We're not going to really see rate sheets improve much from here until we get a true opening to the Strait of Hormuz, where ships are moving. When we see commercial traffic, when oil starts flowing, oil prices fall. That means that the inflation risk will lessen, and traders will move some money back towards bonds, and we'll see improvement. Otherwise, we're not likely to see much of an improvement to bonds over the next couple of weeks unless we see the Strait of Hormuz get opened. So hopefully that happens soon, sooner than later, and I think it would help us. So $2.5 billion renovation for a building with no oversight. Again, this is Washington. And when you look at, I've read some pretty good articles about the amount of work and the requirements for the American with Disabilities Act, requirements for the historic, whatever. Look at how much of a issue it is for Trump to do his ballroom. And this is tremendously more. I don't think that Powell pocketed the money. It's funny. Trump put out he made an offhand comment to kind of open the door on that he didn't think Too Late, as he calls them, had pocketed any of the money. And, I don't think there's anything like that. I don't think there's any impropriety. And I think it's just red tape and bloat and different things happening in Washington, D.C. I think it was a mess. Was it mismanaged? Probably. Is that the Fed chair's job to manage it? I don't know. You could argue that does Trump sit there and GC the ballroom that he's building, right? Like that is, I don't know whose role should be to get things like that done. You think that the Fed chair should be more worried about our economy than their building, but we'll see. So, all right, my friends. It's funny, after I show a comment, then it grays out now. Oh, that's new. Derek Bobadilla, me too. We have bacon. Yeah. Bacon is definitely a thing I wouldn't want to give up either. So, all right, y'all. Well, thanks again for joining me. Appreciate it. I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll see if there is much of a change. I don't think there will be. There's really nothing going on in the economic calendar today that should make much of a difference, but we'll see. And tomorrow you just got, jobs data. We've got jobless claims, that kind of thing, but otherwise not much tomorrow either. So, all right, my friends, have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys. Yeah. So, well, I'm just getting Ron's comment. I don't think he pocketed the money, just inept people and wasteful. When you look at the Fed Reserve structure, the Fed chair is responsible for 100% of all Fed staff. Okay, so again, does that include contractors? That's I don't know. So they're supposed to be fiscally responsible. The ballroom isn't taxpayers' money. Let's you know what you're right, but you're not. It isn't taxpayers' money, but there's the people don't just give the money because they feel like it. There's a lot going on with that one too. So and even that he's had a hard time and he's getting pushed, and the Democrats have done everything they can to block it. And that's my point, is like there's all kinds of things when they're trying to do it. But I do agree with you. They're supposed to be fiscally responsible, and but there's an argument that they have been, because again, this has been going on for years, is part of the issue. And they're doing a basement and parking, underground parking, and this is a big thing. And the way that prices on stuff have gone up over the last few years, doubling the price on a project is not unheard of when you look at where we're at. If it started, when did it first start? I think it started pre-COVID. So I think it was like 19 or 20. That to me is more concerning than even the monetary overages, is how come it's taken years and years and years to get this done? Years and years and years, So, all right. Well, anyway, y'all have a fantastic day. I will see you tomorrow. And thanks again. Bye-bye.